Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We got another banger video coming your way today. We're doing end of season reviews for teams. Today, we're starting on West Coast Eagles as they finished bottom of the ladder. We're going to work our way through every team as they're eliminated. So we've got a little bit of a backlog. 10 teams were eliminated over the last few days. We're starting West Coast. We'll work our way up the ladder. Hope to get 1 to 2 out. Well, 1 out every 1 to 2 days is probably the better way to say what I was trying to say. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video if you enjoyed, jump in the comments below, let me know what you thought of the West Coast Eagles 2025 season. We're going to go through all the stats, all the key stats, all the best players, everything you need to know about the West Coast Eagles, and basically just summarise what happened in 2025 for the Eagles. That's the plan. Hopefully the video will be about 20 minutes long. Don't forget to subscribe, because there's plenty more content coming your way pretty much every day for the next probably 6 weeks just about. So let's jump into the West Coast Eagles 2025. As I've already hinted at, they did finish 18th on the ladder. 23 match season, 1 win, 22 losses, very low percentage of 60.1. Finished 18th on the ladder. It was another rough season for the Eagles, let's be honest. Points for 63.74, which had them 17th, only above Richmond in points for. 106 points against has them in 18th spot for points against. Total players used was 39, which is equal 4th. So there's a few teams slightly ahead of them on that front. 9 debutants is the second most, equal second most. Obviously, Essendon had like 15 or whatever they had in the end. So had a few more than the Eagles, but still, 9 debutants. We got a good look at a wide range of their list this season. Average age was actually the youngest team across the year in the competition, which is a good thing for a team that comes last. You want at least some positives, and being the youngest and least experienced team is a massive positive. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they had a lot of injuries to senior players who have played a lot of football. We'll get through to that bit shortly, but yeah, very young, very inexperienced is a very good summary, I guess, of the West Coast 2025. Record against the top 9 teams. We've gone top 9, bottom 9, just because there was such a chasm between the top 9 and the bottom 9 teams. So that's just how we've separated it, and we're going to have it separated for all teams as we do each review. They're basically going to follow the exact same formula for each video. 0 and 12 against the top 9. Obviously, that's what you'd expect from a team that struggled as much as West Coast. 1 and 10 against the bottom 9. So their one and only win was against a bottom 9 team. We'll jump into all their matches, and there they are. They're 24 rounds, 23 matches. Obviously didn't play opening round. Came in against the Gold Coast Suns at home and got absolutely pumped by 87 points. And on that day, it was a big warning sign that this year might be a rough one for them. They were better against Brisbane at the Gabba. Okay against Fremantle, but still lost them both. GWS and Carlton both destroyed them across the next 2 weeks. Should have beaten the Bombers. If you go back and watch that one, they should have probably won that. They lost it by 2 points. Then Hawthorn, Melbourne both beat them comfortably. Richmond at the MCG was an absolute nail-biter and one that they nearly got. Before round 10, finally getting that win at home against St Kilda. Not a bad win. St Kilda were playing pretty average at this time of the year. Certainly played a little bit better later in the year, did the Saints, but St Kilda finished well above them on the ladder, so it's not a bad win from them. That's for sure. Then Adelaide, Geelong, both smacked them. North Melbourne at Hands Oval over in Perth was a bit of a disappointing result. They wasted opportunities, and in the end, North Melbourne ran over the top of them to win by 10 points. Carlton beat them by 34 points in round 14 before they went to the bye. They came out of the bye, played really well against Collingwood, who were on top of the ladder at that point, only lost by 29 points. GWS beat them by 59. Port Adelaide beat them comfortably enough, as did Richmond. That was a really bad performance from the Eagles. That might be the low point of their season, 49 points to the team that finishes 17th on the ladder. Fremantle beat them by 49 the following week. Melbourne absolutely smacked them at Marvel Stadium. Adelaide, they nearly stole that one. That would have been a huge win. They led a fair chunk of the match. They were right in it most of the way. Only lost by 9 points to Adelaide, who at this point of the time and for the rest of the year was on top of the ladder. Then got smacked by Bulldogs, finished the season with a good first quarter against Sydney, but ended up losing by 67 points. So that's their season. Only the one win, pretty much smack bang in the middle, basically. It's been a rough year for them. There's no doubt about it. It kind of was expected in a lot of ways, but that probably doesn't help West Coast fans when it comes down to it, because yeah, she was a rough one. We'll jump into some of the key stats. There's a lot of stats on this next page. We won't go through them all, but as you can see, we've got a column for, so that's for the West Coast Eagles against, obviously, their opposition, and then the difference between for and against, and where they rank in each category. As you can tell, there's a lot of 18ths, there's a lot of 17ths and 16ths. They're pretty much down the bottom of basically every category. Their disposal efficiency at 15%, at 15th, is almost as good as it gets. Intercepts, surprisingly, is probably their best part of the game. Looked after the ball pretty well, and also got similar numbers, like minus 1.1. Certainly not a bad number for intercepts. They're 12th in the competition for that area of the game, so that's probably as good as any of the stats get. Their clearance numbers were quite poor. Obviously, scoring was really low. Accuracy, 16th in the competition. Shots per inside 50, 18th in the competition. The defensive pressure and stuff does rate okay, but a lot of the pressure acts numbers and tackles being slightly higher, especially the pressure acts, is due to the fact that when the opposition has the ball more than you, you should be defending a lot more, and therefore your numbers are probably going to be slightly inflated there. Like, the 18th in the competition for disposal difference at minus 56 disposals per game. So they were just getting outused week in, week out. A lot of that's clearances. They just couldn't get their hands on the footy out of the middle. Their midfield really struggled this year. There's reasons for that, mainly Elliot Yeo not being in there. I think it was a major issue for them, but that's just how I see it. Score sources, it's not great reading. They're 17th at kick-in difference, 18th at stoppage difference, and 17th at turnover difference. So really poor there. And it's no better for score origin. I mean, you expect that when they're like minus whatever they were, 43 points basically, 42 points per game. They're going to be quite poor in a lot of these areas. But 17th in defensive half difference, 18th in forward half, and 18th from centre bounce. So scoring was not a good season for them. Not many things were. If we're looking for positives, it's probably that intercept game is probably as good as anything reads for them. Yeah, they didn't have the footy as much, so it's hard to turn it over when you don't have the football. But I think that's still a positive sign for them in a season that doesn't have all that many positives. Jumping into our player analysis now, just a little look first of all at the key players that missed a lot of football. And like, there's a lot of big names that are very good players in this list. Starting at the top with maybe one of the biggest, Elliot Yeo, him in the midfield, missing all year, did not play a game, was huge. He was their best player last year in terms of ranking, maybe arguably with Jeremy McGovern, maybe Waterman, but Elliot Yeo, certainly their best midfielder over the last few years, and for him to miss all 23 matches was massive. Like, there's no doubt about it. That certainly hurt their ability. It also would have allowed the other midfielders to not have as much pressure on them. We'll get into how their midfield actually rated across the board shortly, but yeah, Elliot Yeo missing every game was certainly a major factor for a really bad season. Dom Sheed also didn't play a game. He's now retired, obviously, but he was on their list. He was planning to play football this year, and that didn't happen. So certainly a loss there. Jack Petroselli missed 21 games, so only got a couple in. He's not as good as some of the others, but he's certainly a serviceable player. He was ranked 64 as a general forward last year in the competition in the All Aussie Rules rating system. So to only get a couple games out of him was not great. McGovern, he missed 17 matches. Last year, he was the number 2 ranked key defender in the competition. He was All-Australian. He only managed the 6 matches this year. He's obviously medically retired now. He was a major factor for this West Coast team, just not having that ability to stop scoring. Certainly throughout the second half of the year, but throughout most of the year. His numbers were okay while he was playing, but just 6 matches out of him was a big issue. Waterman, key forward. He's their best key forward. Last year, he was ranked in the top 7 key forwards in the competition. This year, his rating was well down in the 8 matches he played, but still a massive loss to only get the 8 matches out of him. Oscar Allen, he was the captain. He missed 11 games, so they're missing a lot of games from a lot of key players. Like, probably on their list, their 2 best key forwards, their best key defender, 2 of their top probably 3 or 4 inside mids, all missing. So they are missing a lot of talent on this list throughout most of the season. Jaden Hunt missed 8 games as the outside mid. And then Uis missed 7 games in his first season at the club. And Harry Edwards 7, Jack Graham missed 5, who ends up being their number 1 ranked midfielder this season. So a lot of games missed from a lot of key players. That is basically the long and the short of the West Coast Eagles season 2025. Players missing from their team that were in their team the year before, so in 2024. Tom Barrass obviously went to Hawthorn. His rating this season hasn't been that great, but you see his rating last year, 49.84. For context, that would be well and truly their best across the season this year. Even the 37.48 would have been their second best key defender this season, just behind Reuben Ginbey. So, yeah, obviously a loss losing a key defender like him, and then obviously McGovern going down and retiring not that long into the season. So big issue there. Jay Cully was delisted, ended up at Melbourne in the mid-season draft and played a couple good games for the Demons. Jack Darling, he was traded across to North Melbourne. It probably did hurt them, especially with the fact that they lost Waterman and only got him for 8 games, Oscar Allen for 12, and then were going into like young players like Job Shanahan. A player like Jack Darling probably would have helped them this season, but it is what it is. Andrew Gaff retired at the end of last year. He didn't have a great last season, so that's what that is. We'll move into position analysis, and we'll start with the defenders. Liam Baker. We'll general defenders first before we go to the key defenders. Liam Baker was their highest rated player this year, ranked 15th as a general defender. He obviously plays a lot of roles, sometimes forward, sometimes wing, sometimes inside mid. Overall, we gave him the general defender tag for the season. Finished up as the 15th best general defender in the All Aussie Rules ratings. Last year, he was ranked 6th as a general forward. Pretty much similar rating overall, so a pretty solid first year in the Eagles colours for him. He's going to need to go to the next level again, though, to take this team above 18th, really. Tom McCarthy, he was the pickup of the year. Picked up in the mid-season draft. Played almost every game from that point. Came in got absolute oodles of the ball for the first few weeks. Played a really good game. Multiple really good games. Finished up with 10 games. Rating just behind Liam Baker. 18th best general defender in the competition. So a really good season from him. Liam Duggan, 21 matches. He pretty much played the season. His rating went down from last year. He was 24th, back to 46th this year as a general defender. So not a great season from him numbers-wise. And potentially there's a lot of reasons for that. I think we'll see hopefully we'll see him get back to the numbers of last year. we'll see how that plays out. But a little bit disappointing from Liam Duggan this year. Tom Cole played 18 games. His rating was slightly up on last year, so he had a pretty solid year. Obviously got a bit more consistency into his game and playing more games, and I think that shows. Tyrell Dewar started okay. His numbers pretty much similar to last year. Slightly different role this year, a little bit more back than forward, but pretty similar numbers. And then Luca Grego played just the one game, and Bo Allen played 6 games. Pretty low ratings for both of them. Worth noting that unranked, because if you haven't played above 50% in 6 or more games, you are unranked. You're not an unranked player. No, you are an unranked player, so you're not in the rankings as is. But you can see what their rating number is, and it's quite low compared to the other players that did play more football. Key defenders, this was the big one. Jeremy McGovern, as you can see, played 6 games. His rating slightly lower than last year. He's unranked, though, because he didn't play enough football. Disappointing end to his career. Obviously had a very, very good career. West Coast are going to struggle to replace it and cover him, and they did this year, and they're probably going to again next year struggle with that. But a fantastic career from Jeremy McGovern. Their highest rated key defender was Ruben Ginby, who wasn't even a defender last season, like a key defender in his however many games he played last year. He did well. I don't think he's ready to be a number 1 key defender, but he was solid enough. Ranked 25th as a key defender. Harry Edwards, another one who pretty similar numbers to last year, slightly up. Nothing to write home about, though. Played 16 games. Sandy Brock played 14 games. Another one that's pretty even in that range. Not great performer. Would be fine as your 2nd or 3rd key defender. Reet Bazzo played the 7 games. His rating was above last year, but still pretty low and not quite ready. I wouldn't thought so. So we'll jump into the forward line. General forwards first. Their highest rated general forward this year was the 47th best in the competition. So that suggests that every team had basically 2.5 players as general forwards rated higher than West Coast's highest rated general forward. That is not a great sign. Liam Ryan was their number 1, slightly up in terms of rating, dropped a few spots in rank across from 24 to 25. He was fine. 20 games, did okay, but nothing outstanding. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. There's talk that he's moving club or wants to move club, so we'll see where that ends up. But I don't think he had a fantastic season. Jamie Cripps, he was their big dropper from last year in terms of their forward line. Ranked 18th as a general forward last year, all the way back to 58th this year. We just did not get anywhere near the consistency or the highs from Jamie Cripps that we had in previous years. So 21 games, he was a touch disappointing. Tyler Brockman, he slightly went up, but nothing to write home about. Not a big enough jump to be great. Matthew Uys came across from Carlton and dropped. Didn't do much, in all honesty. He really struggled to find form and consistency at the Eagles. Noah Long played 10 games. His rating's pretty low again, as it was last year, so nothing too exciting there. Jack Petroselli, as we said, he only played 2 games this year. He's unranked, doesn't even have a rating because he didn't play more than 50% game time in either of the 2 matches he played. So he obviously was someone that they were missing. If they could have got some solid numbers from him, maybe it would have helped him a little bit. Who knows? It wouldn't have done as much as someone like McGovern or Elliot Yeo playing more game time. Hamish Davies played 8 games. Actually pretty solid in those 8, I think. You can see his rating there, 35.22. Would have him around about that 60-odd mark in the competition as a general forward. So showed some signs that we could see him in the future. Obviously didn't play a huge amount of game time this season. Jacob Newton played 2 games. Pretty low ranking, as does Macaulay Champion. So those bottom 4 all unranked this year. Jumping into the key forwards, Waterman last year was so close to that Coleman. He had a great season in 2024, rating of 50.7, dropped right down. Obviously missed a lot of football this year, just the 8 games. I think we'd forget about this year. Hope that he comes back ready to go in peak fitness next year, and hopefully for West Coast he can get back to that 2024 form, because we just did not see that in those 8 games that he played this year. Jack Williams played 13 games. His rating's pretty average. It's not great. It's pretty similar to where it was last year. I think at best he's probably your third key forward, maybe. So we'll see how that plays out. Oscar Allen potentially leaving, pretty much almost certainly leaving West Coast, I think. I think whoever gets him is probably going to be overpaying him based on what we've seen so far. His ratings have not been great. He only played the 12 games this year. He's pretty injury prone. It's a bit of a risk, I reckon, and one that I reckon West Coast are probably not that disappointed about losing him. I know he's captain and whatnot, but if they can get some good compensation picks for it, it's probably not the worst scenario for West Coast. Job Shanahan played the 9 games, was okay, had some glimpses of showing that he's going to be okay footballer, good enough at AFL level, but once again, probably your third key. You don't want him being number 1 or 2 as target in your forward 50, I don't think, too often. Archer Reed played 14 games. We haven't seen much from him to suggest yet that he's ready to go as an AFL player. Into the midfield, we have inside mids first, and this is obviously where they're missing players. Elliot Yeo, not there. Dom Sheed wasn't there this year, so their depth was tested, and unfortunately for the Eagles, a lot of them didn't perform as well as they did last year, with the exception of Jack Graham, who came across to the Eagles and had a really, really good run of it. As you can see, his rating went up over 8 points. He went from 78th best inside mid in the comp last year to 50th this year. That's a good improvement, but once again, there's just no cream of the crop in that inside mid talent this season. So he was good. He definitely improved. Unfortunately for him, those around him have probably gone backwards. Tim Kelly went from 36th to 82nd as an inside mid. He did play a few good games later in the season, but overall his rating really dropped. Harley Reid went from a 69th best in his first year back to 83rd, so not a huge drop, but definitely wasn't as good as he was last year. There's no doubt about that. Brady Howe, he went from a general defender, pretty low rating. This year went into the inside mid, slightly higher rating, but probably not enough to get too excited about. Clay Hall was another one that certainly played some better football this year, but not good enough, I don't think. Elijah Hewitt, he's ranked 92nd as an inside mid, so this year from 20 games, we didn't see enough from him to suggest that he's going to change the game for this club, but we'll see. Tom Gross played 8 games, pretty low rating at least. He's unranked. Outside mids, Ryan Marrick actually rated quite well. Went from more of a forward role to more the outside mid role this year. Did play a variety of roles throughout. 22 matches, rating of 47. That's almost plus 20 on last year. Massive improvement. I think he had a really good year and was one of their big shining lights, I guess, from this season, and one that they can be happy with. Jaden Hunt played just the 15 games. Rated slightly worse than last year, going from 28th to 40th as an outside mid. So a little bit down. Jack Hutchinson, he played 16 games, rated pretty much exactly the same as he did last year. Campbell Chesser, he played just the 4 games. His rating, not terrible in all honesty, probably showed enough signs that maybe we can keep an eye on him into next season, because I think he's shown enough that he could be good and a decent enough player. Maybe not world class, but has a little bit of talent there, I think. They had 2 main ruckmen this year. Matt Flynn played 18 games. His rating went up big time on last year, but obviously was unranked last year, so didn't play as much football. I think preseason, I think in our preseason prediction video, we suggested he was their number one ruckman. That is how it's pretty much turned out for the year, and the ratings definitely suggest that's the case. His rating went up, not high enough, 17th best ruckman in the competition, but certainly went up, whereas Bailey Williams, who played 16 games, his rating went down by 10 points to 26th best ruckman in the competition. So that tells you that a really good season, well, not a really good season, but an improvement from Matt Flynn. Bailey Williams did not show that this year. So that's still a massive issue that this West Coast team have, is how bad their ruck stocks probably is. Like most teams, ruckman averaging around about 60 as their number one ruckman. So 47.62 is not real high. They've got plenty of issues at their club. There's no doubt about it. But one of them is their ruck stocks, I think. We'll now jump into a little summary of their positions and how they all rate, a little explanation on how this works. Elite is your top 10% of each position. Top class is your 10% to 25%. Above average is from 25% to 40%. Average is 40% to 60%. And below average is 60% to 100. Obviously, the bottom. Unranked, everybody that has not played at least 5 matches of at least 50% game time. So looking at this, general defender, well, they don't have one elite player this season. That's the first thing that sticks out. They're ones that from last year that could have been there. Obviously, Liam Baker dropped off a little bit, doesn't quite get into the elite category. Jeremy McGovern didn't play enough football this year. He was obviously elite last year. Jake Waterman, one that was right on the fringe of elite last season, could have been there. So the other three that probably could have been, maybe Elliot Yeo as well, but that's a big issue. No real elite players this year. They only had 3 top class players, 2 of them as general defenders and 1 as an outside mid. So that's Liam Baker, Tom McCarthy, and Ryan Marrick. And then above average, they only have 1 player in that category as well, and that was Ruben Ginby. So to only have 4 players in the top 40% of their position in the competition just shows you where this team was at this year. Yeah, they were missing a lot of key players that would probably rate into that above average or better category at their peaks, like Elliot Yeo. Dom Sheed, probably a stretch, maybe gets into above average, probably more the average category. But McGovern, Waterman. So there's 3 that could have, which would have got them to 7, which would have been a much more realistic, still below AFL average, but a little bit better, and probably given them a couple extra wins throughout the year. General defenders is probably their strongest position, in all honesty. Baker, McCarthy, Duggan a little bit down this year, but I think that's maybe their only strong point. Key defenders, there's an issue with no McGovern. General forwards, I think they have okay talent there. They just didn't show it this year. I know they didn't get as much use. It's hard being a general forward in a bad team, but it is what it is. Key forwards, I think they're going to be okay. Waterman back next year. We'll see how that plays out. Inside mids, obviously Elliot Yeo coming back in. Hopefully Harley Reid can get back and improve on what he did in his first season instead of going back and regressing to what he did this season. Tim Kelly, if we can get a little bit more out of him. Jack Graham, similar numbers again from this year to next year with Harley Reid and Elliot Yeo above him would be huge for this team. Outside mids, I think they're going to be okay in that area. Ryan Marrick has shown some good signs. I think Campbell Chesser could show some good signs as well. Jaden Hunt as well as a third option that can also play that high general forward, or even a running back if need be. But their rucks is a big issue. They've only got 2 and they both rated as below average. So that's how I see the West Coast Eagles lineup. That's all our graphics that we have. That's all our information we have. Basically, all we got to do is wrap it up and say West Coast Eagles finished 18th. We expected them to finish probably in the bottom three. They've had a rough few years, there's no doubt about it. They'll be hoping that they can start to turn that around. I don't see it happening quickly, though, for West Coast. It's been a long, drawn-out process, and unless some miracle happens, it could be a couple more seasons down there. We'll see. Long off-season. We'll see what they can pick up in compensation and in drafts and in trades and free agency or whatever. That could change this club around quicker. We'll see. Hopefully, for their sake, they have a lot better run with injuries next year. That's probably the big thing that they didn't have this year. But the fact that McGovern's gone is a big issue, I think, for this West Coast team over the next couple of years. So we'll see how that goes. My name is Jay. This was the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. This was the West Coast Eagles 2025 season review. I hope you enjoyed. Jump down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of West Coast season 2025. We'll be back with plenty more videos. We do 2 podcasts a week. We do season reviews for every single club. We also have AFLW content. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that noti bell so you don't miss any videos. And I'll catch you on the next one.